One of my current beliefs, I say current beliefs because I know that my beliefs evolve and change over time, is that all of us have access to higher guidance. Sometimes it comes through intuition. Sometimes it can come through something else. In my case, sometimes through automatic writing, and sometimes simply by a feeling that I have to do something in a certain way. We have this guidance. We can pick it up in many, many ways if we are willing and open to it. And if we're ready for it. If we've advanced to the stage where we are ready for this particular guidance. And one of the ways we get this guidance is often through what we regard later on as mentors. People who have guided us along the way. And certainly over my 75 years, doesn't that sound grand? 75 years, I have received a lot of guidance from mentors. Starting as far back as when I was 7 years of age, when I was living in a little hamlet in England in World War II. Very few other children around, but one of my mentors was a boy of 12 or 13 called Peter. And Peter was the only son of a farmer whose wife had died, and only the farmer and his son, Peter, had to manage this dairy farm, which had about 20 cows. They had to milk those cows twice a day. And I became a friend of Peter's, and I would toddle along and watch what was done and receive advice. And Peter gave me a lot of advice on things. I learned so much. By the time I returned back to London, back to the London bombing, I'd already learned a hell of a lot about life and death and seen things which I would never have seen had I remained in London, in the ordinary suburb in which I lived. So Peter taught me a hell of a lot. Then later on, I met a fellow called Johnny Burke. Now, Johnny was about my age, but far more wiser. And he got me into reading. He encouraged me to join a library and to read. He encouraged me to read comic books because they were so easy to read when you're young, with all the pictures and then the words written next to the pictures, so you could get an idea of what was going on. But Johnny taught me more than that. He taught me to move beyond the picture books, comics, to the written comics with no illustrations. And that's where I think my imagination, reading the adventurous stories written in such comic books as The Wizard and The Hotspur and The Champion, this gave me an insight or a ability to visualize story. And later on, naturally, when this happens, you want to write stories yourself. And even at an early age, of around about 13 or 14, I attempted to write my first book. I gave up on it. It was too hard. But anyway, I learned a lot from that. Moving to Australia at 15 years of age, or just prior to 15 years of age, I had other mentors. Many, when I think back. But then I got into public speaking. And that's when I guess my passion for communication really took off. I met a man, an ex-school teacher, I was then 30 and it would have been about 65, 67, something like that. And he persuaded me to write my first book. He didn't say write a book. He just inferred that I could do it. And so I did. And he edited it. And he was a strict editor. He made sure that I did everything right, thorough. And thence began a passion for writing. Fiction at first, and then later non-fiction. I met a lady called his name was Harold Went, by the way, Harold Went. Then I met another lady called Connie Lindsay at a night school class. And I had to give a presentation. And she said to me, Tom, you've got the gift. What did she mean? You've got the gift. You are a speaker. You are able to put together words which put pictures in people's minds. So Connie became a mentor in the short term. Then later on, another Harold appeared in my life. Harold, who had been a member of Rostrum. Harold Palo. And Harold Palo once again said, Tom, you've got the gift. Get out there and speak. So all of these people were mentors in a way. And I owe my successes and advancement as a speaker, as a writer, as a communicator to my mentors. Do you have mentors? If you do, cherish them. Note what they say. They're important people in your lives. If you take notice of them, you will grow as a speaker, as a person, as a beautiful human being.